Hello and welcome everybody to a Netrix Global webinar. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Adam Murder. I am the Chief Information Security Officer at Netrix. Today we're covering an exciting topic, future of MDR, how AI-powered analytics and Agentic AI elevate security operations. We're going to take a deep dive on how AI can be built into your security operations to deliver enhanced value for your teams and for your company. Netrix, having recently partnered with Elastic to enhance our AI security offerings, is taking these to our clients, partnering with Elastic. In this webinar, we're actually going to go into Elastic security features, take a deep dive on how that's actually working within their stack, and we're actually going to do some real live examples of how we're using that inside of our service to enhance security operations for our clients. Whether you're a security professional looking to see how Elastic security with AI can improve your security, or a leader just looking how AI in general can enhance your security operations, we'll have a lot of content for you to sink your teeth into here. And so for the presentation, we have a great panel of speakers. I want to introduce Mike Smith. Mike is from Elastic. He's a senior solutions architect at Elastic, focusing on Elastic security and AI adoption. Appreciate you joining us today, Mike. And I have two folks from Netrix. First is Rob Tilley. Rob is the director over our Elastic MDR offering. He's got 30 years of experience in the IT industry, and he is currently leading the charge in AI adoption in our Elastic MDR offering that we have for our clients. Also here is Avi Vinod. Avi is our lead principal security architect at Netrix. He's a lengthy background across DevOps, networking, systems architecture, and security. And Avi's actually been leading our Elastic security architecture and has been driving our AI-centric efforts for our cybersecurity offering with Elastic. Appreciate you guys. Welcome. Thank you for joining. To kind of tee the topic up, we're going to start with a deeper dive on Elastic security itself and some of the AI-centric features that they're building into the cybersecurity stack. Second, we'll kind of dive into some of those use cases, as I mentioned. And so I'd really like to start with Mike, coming from Elastic, where we'll do a little bit of a focus on the Elastic security stack and some of the features. Mike, Elastic's taken a very strong position in AI as it relates to cybersecurity, kind of taking it away from an experimental to actually building it into your guys' security stack, which really gives people the ability to leverage AI with their cybersecurity services or operations that they're looking to do. And so, Mike, I'd love to hear from you, just kind of from Elastic's perspective. What does operational AI actually look like? How are people baking this into their stack for security operations using Elastic?
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for teeing me up, and I appreciate the time. Thanks for Netrix for having me and Elastic. So I first like to really kind of get a better understanding of the paradigm shift that AI has caused when it comes to security. And now in the space, and you no longer can have fragmented systems. You need a holistic view. Isolated security teams having specific EDR, SIM teams, you have to now consolidate them because you need that repository of data and knowledge base, as well as with the explosion of data where you have small organizations having petabytes of data. You no longer can do manual analysis. So you need AI assistance inside that intelligence repository to be able to truly gain insight and information. And lastly, you have to be proactive because now that threats move so fast, because threat actors are now using AI, they move so fast, you have to be proactive because if you're reactive, you're already too late. And we're seeing now that AI is no longer just about anomaly detection or, the unsupervised jobs, but it's really a part of the function in the day-to-day of SOC analysts. So as you see in Elastic, where we have the SIM and the XDR for endpoints and the cloud security, you also have that underpinning of AI in all of that functionality to be able to convert signals or just alerts and consolidate them into actual narratives because of the amount of alerts and facilitating comprehension, giving context and answering natural questions because a lot of end users are expecting that experience, and then giving informed decisions, really grounding the data, leveraging what we'll speak about later, which is RAG, really getting the personal private data of users and the actual alert data necessary for the large language model to make those decisions. And then lastly, giving that automation, enabling actions, really getting that agentic workflow and allowing the system to make integral moves and integral decisions, which can give you scale and effectiveness and really integrating operational AI. It's really about getting AI into the decision making, into the threat detection, investigation, and the response when it comes to security. I can't hear you, Adam.
I apologize.
Oh,
you got me. One of the things that you highlighted, Mike, that I think is great for people who are looking at AI in the cybersecurity space is how is the AI baked into your overall operations tied to it? So you're kind of highlighting that we've got AI with Elastic in multiple places through the decision analysis, some of the actions, some of the automation, and that's one of the cool things that we're going to dive into when we start do a deeper dive later of like what are those features and kind of how do they look. Before we get too far into the features, I do want to bring up there is a fear sometimes with AI being baked in, right? People worried about AI-induced risk and hallucinations, bad automations, overtrust in AI. So before we get into the features, kind of how does Elastic ensure that AI features add capability without introducing unnecessary risk from your perspective?
Yeah, I feel like especially nowadays that concern is very valid because you've seen the Wild Wild West AI agents that go in and delete databases and also can make some inaccurate decisions. And I think the first thing for Elastic is really grounded it in a real SIM, real SIM data and alert data, and retrieving that based upon AI being able to grab actual alerts, logs, and context, and avoiding just generic or invented answers, because hallucinations come from LLMs inventing answers because they don't have context. And at Elastic, we really emphasize transparency. We want the end user, the security analyst, to have access to signals, to alerts that we say is an issue. In one of our examples with attack discovery, even though we give you a attack, we still give you the alerts that gave us the context for that attack. So you're able as a security analyst to go through those alerts and verify that, okay, my AI is doing the correct thing. And then thirdly, Elastic still believes in a human in the loop. I think a lot of fears come from, is AI going to take my job? Is AI going to? No, the necessity for human beings to still be active, to still be ensuring that the AI is doing what it's supposed to do is very important. The AI is just taking it to the goalpost. It's the human touch is right there in the middle as you're charging, and then the AI finishes it. So it's not removing. And then lastly, with automation, it's controlled and incremental. So it's almost like least privilege. You're going step by step and not just allowing for a 100% action without continuous efficacy checks and ensuring that each step is exactly what the end user wants. And the ability for our end users to do that inside of Elastic really reduces that risk. Of course, not all the way to zero, because no risk is at zero, but the goal is to really reduce the cognitive load while maintaining control for the SOC analysts. We want them to still be able to be tactical without being exhausted by alert fatigue and things of that nature. And really having a platform that's open and extensible and transparent allows for a level of comfort for our end users when it comes to utilizing Elastic security and its AI.
Yeah, great call, Mike. I think a big thing we'll focus on when we talk with Rob and AB, how we're actually using this at Netrix, is how it's assisting, it's making it more efficient, and it can really help you scale, right? So it's not necessarily about removing the human. It's a little more focused on making the people faster who are looking at it, getting them to that analysis faster and getting the outcomes faster. And ideally in the same time, making their investigation more accurate. So yeah, appreciate that. I think it is a topic in this space with cybersecurity. People are always worried, in terms of the overall security. They worry about how AI could affect that. And so we really want to use cybersecurity to assist in the area, not necessarily take over. So let's focus a little on the features. Mike, there's a bunch of cool stuff that Elastic, you talked a lot about how it's baked in, right? So we have AI security assist and attack discovery, and all that's using what's called the Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG. So you want to talk us through that a little bit and how Elastic functions with RAG and how it's built in?
1,000%. And this is just to piggyback on the risk question and to really highlight how, like I said, all of our data, all of the AI's decisions are based in grounded data based upon RAG. So if you look at the slide, you will see from left to right where it starts with the question being asked by a SOC analyst trying to understand, gather alerts. So let's just say a SOC analyst says, name me all the alerts inside of my ecosystem. And that question, instead of it going to the large language model, to OpenAI, who has no idea of what's happening inside of their system, that question comes to Elastic, and Elastic handles all of the search. It handles all of the correlation. It handles all of the ranking, all of the semantic, all of the complex search mechanisms that are needed to be able to bring back a natural language response are handled inside of Elastic, which is enterprise security, which also can obfuscate or pull out any PII or HIPAA data, any sensitive information that the end user doesn't want the large language model to have access to. It pulls out all of that, but still retains the context. And then what it does is it couples the SOC analyst questions with that context window. So now the large language model not only has the question, it also has context. So now it's a full story. It's no longer bits and bytes. We're giving you a full meal when it comes to what the large language model can chew on and then give back the response, which really allows for the end user to have a holistic view. And this just highlights Elastic as a platform and having AI underneath all of that, from being able to pull in any type of data from any data source, funnel it into Elastic, and really operationalize that data into an AI experience. And specifically when it comes to AI and Elastic, from functionality, we have things like automatic import, which uses agentic workflow. So it agentically handles the work of parsing and normalizing new data sources. You can drop in raw logs and it will actually determine the structure, extract relevant fields, and maps them to standard schemas. Then we have automatic migration, which complements Elastic's library and its pre-built rules to broaden detection. So you can bring detection rules from another legacy SIEM into Elastic, leveraging automatic migration, and we will actually put that into ESQL, our query language, and then give you that Elastic version. So it now allows our end users to, like I said, it reduces the cognitive load on them. And then we have attack discovery, which also leverages agentic workflows. It takes massive amounts, hundreds of alerts, and identifies actual attacks. So now you're not living with alert fatigue, as well as our AI assistant, which is married with that, which provides the agentic capabilities to interpret the user intent. So in that RAG example, you have the SOC analyst actually asking the question to the AI assistant, and the AI assistant will dynamically apply the right rules to perform an action. So all of that holistically brings together the entire AI ecosystem, the SOC, for our AI security use case.
Yeah, one of the cool things that you're calling out is context aware, Mike, right? So it's not, when you're using Elastic, it's not like it's being piped out to some AI platform and then there's some things being provided. The AI features are baked in and they're context aware of what an analyst or a security operations person is interfacing with, right? Which is what we're showing across these screens. We'll actually hop into that in a little bit with Rob and Abe. We're going to look about how it's in the workflow. I think that's a key call out when it comes to how you can use AI. It being context aware, built in and layered into the stack, it's a very powerful feature. It's native to how it's being used, as opposed to just being an overlay. And so you definitely highlighted that, and we'll look at actually how that's implemented in a little bit. Kind of speaking of taking it to the next step and sort of where AI is going, Elastic does have a lot of new features coming out. SOAR capabilities, and then there's a new agentic SOC function that's looking to take this to the next level in terms of further automating or further helping enhance cybersecurity investigations. Like, you kind of walk us through some of those new features that are coming out?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the biggest ones that we see, we acquired a company by the name of Keep, which works in workflows, and we were able to create what we call elastic workflows. And what this does is it not only takes the responses and the detections, but it actually can go all the way to integrate agents and automated workflow. So now let's say an alert was to kick off and you have a workflow for this very alert. Instead of you having to go in and monitor each step, those Elastic workflows actually automates that process for you while still sending you Slack messages to acknowledge what's happening, so you can monitor it to make sure that the process is working correctly, to ensure that transparency. But also, as well as, it will not only kick off certain agents to be able to run rules, but it is context aware, and it's a self-learning tool to be able to continue to process these alerts, give you suggestions, leveraging the AI assistant. And then lastly, I don't have a slide for this one, but this one is actually TBD. It's coming up in one of our next releases. It's called automatic troubleshooting, which really simplifies endpoint deployment by detecting software conflicts like antivirus or EDR before any causes or issues, which is, like I said, it identifies the install tools on an endpoint, and then it guides you through resolving conflicts so the Elastic Assistant can be deployed smoothly and reliably. So we really want to, like I said, not only give you the protection, but allow easier migration or easy adoption, because there's one thing that I've learned in the computer space, or in the IT space, is a tool can be amazing, but if the end users find it too complicated to use, too complicated to adapt to, then they won't use it, or they'll use it minimally. So Elastic really takes education, enablement very importantly, and we want to utilize our tool to enable and enrich the experience for our SOC analysts.
Mike, really appreciate you going into a deep dive on the features, kind of what's coming. One thing that you called out there that is really important for us, specifically in the security space, is usability, right? You could have the Ferrari, but if you don't know how to drive it, or it's hard to drive, you're not getting anywhere, right? And I know a lot of security leaders in the space are kind of grappling with the risk that AI imposes, but then also, hey, how do I use AI to actually improve what is happening around cybersecurity, to reduce risk and help it accelerate my own security operations. And so I actually want to shift now to Rob and Aby, so we can really hop into that live kind of look at what we're doing. Here's some stories from Rob about what we're doing. Aby's going to do a little overlay. And so I'm going to transition over to Rob here. One of the promises of AI and security that we talked about here as it relates to Elastic and some of what they're doing is kind of the natural language threat hunting and queries. Elastic has the AI security assistant, which Mike mentioned, that kind of allows an analyst to do some native hunting and then have the AI assist that. So Rob, you maybe kind of walk us through what real world impact are you seeing with AI, with some of the features that Elastic has that are enabling your analysts and helping our clients to address issues faster?
Sure. One of the things we've seen real value from an Elastic SIEM is how our analysts use the AI to work smarter and not harder, especially during event triage. For analysts, the biggest impact is time to insight. At a high level, Elastic's AI assistant helps our analysts make sense of security activity faster. Instead of manually combing through alerts and remembering complex query syntax, they can use the AI to quickly analyze the events, correlate the related activity, and ask questions of the data in plain language. In more technical situations, the AI assistant helps them build advanced ESQL or KQL queries without needing to know every detail from memory. It makes it easier and faster to move on from an alert to a decision. The net effect is faster clarity. And for leadership, this means quicker determination as to whether something is a real threat or simply noise, which directly impacts response times and our operational efficiency. Aby, can you show us the AI assistant? Give us a quick example of that.
Sure thing. This is an alert. So basically, this is an alert tab in Elastic, and you have a bunch of alerts over the last 4 hours. And what I'm doing here is I expanded an alert and clicked the AI assistant, and I did this in advance. So what will happen is, or what I'm doing here is, I am basically trying to get a summary of this alert to understand what this is. And this alert basically is lateral movement via net.exe. So some program, it got into the system, and an attacker or a bad threat actor probably is trying to move around in the network, right? So what I'm doing is I'm sending this alert to the LLM, to the chat, and you can see the response it is printing out. And the thing here is, the thing to note is, if somebody's just taking this alert and putting it in ChatGPT or Claude, they're not going to get this level of detail. This is the RAG part which Mike was talking about. The chat is context aware. It is looking at knowledge bases specific to the company, and it knows its systems, right? So there is this context which is built before it is using the power of the LLM. So the kind of response, the quality of the response which you get here, it will not be the same if somebody tries to copy and put it in an LLM. And also, when this data is sent to the LLM, the PI is anonymized. So there's a lot of privacy, and this is a customizable thing also. And what we see here is, so I send the summary, and it is printing out what this is. So it's basically telling us in plain language something which a level one analyst would understand, right? Like what this is. It's saying that it's a stage 4 of a black hat ransomware attack, and it is telling you the exact triage steps you need to take. It is giving you ESQL queries you need to run to understand additional lateral movement attempts. And you can see that all they have to do, they have an action plan. They have a clear action plan right now. So all they have to do is take these queries, put it in the timeline, and do the investigation, right? And here you can see that I asked a question to give me a query to see where it originated from, and it started printing out what I need to do. Like it's giving me the query straight out of the box. So all I need to do is like copy this, put it in my Discover or timeline, and then do my investigation from there.
Yeah, really awesome stuff. I think kind of calling back to what Mike said, and then Rob, you touched on, right, to have it be built into the instance. There's an overlay where the analyst or a security operations investigator, or you could even be a forensic investigator, are coming into this, and it's context aware. Maybe you kind of called that out. It's built into the workflow. Mike talked about that, and then Rob, you talked about the time to insight, right? So this is a great example of that. Of hey, we have a pretty concerning looking alert, right? But how do you get outcomes from that? Typically an analyst or an investigator will have to spend time, what is this executable? How do I get some more data, build some custom queries themselves, go look at maybe what runbooks they have tied to that or what they may know about that. This is actually bringing it right in. So the time to insight that you valued, Rob, when we talk about resolving issues quickly, it gets it there. But the human is still directly in the chain here. Right, so we're looking at it. That person does have to apply some context. So it's getting them the insight they need to sharpen that investigation and get to that next step. And it's built right into the workflow inside the alert, right? So just being able to wrap that around is really cool. It's good demonstration of that. Kind of expanding on that, right? So we take the ransomware use case. A lot of the time you come into a situation where there may be a security incident happening, or you're just getting a flood of alerts, right? And or you're coming into a console for the first time after turning a tool on, and you're like, wow, there's a lot in here. Where does the person focus, right? You can prioritize P1s or criticals or whatever your tool uses, but how do you narrow that focus if you've got a large alerts? One of the really cool things Mike touched on a little bit is attack discovery, right? Which is a feature that Elastic has that is AI enhanced, which helps kind of narrow down root cause. Rob, can you talk about that functionality, how you've actually seen that work in our security operations for helping our clients and even internal Netrix, and just kind of maybe talk us through some use cases there?
Sure. Let me share a real incident that highlighted that. Toward the end of last year, we were contacted by a client who had experienced a ransomware attack, just like you're seeing, which AB is representing. At the time, the devices were not yet reporting into our SIM, which meant we had very limited visibility into their historical environment. From an incident response perspective, this is a challenging position to be in. Investigating a ransomware event without historical context typically requires manually parsing through millions of log entries from the period leading up to the attack in the hopes that the events that occurred were still available. It's a time-consuming and resource-intensive effort. What we did is we rapidly deployed Elastic into their environment, onboarded all the available integrations, and collected whatever logs were still present on their systems. In this case, we were fortunate enough that the historical data was still available for us to work with. At that point, our incident response team leveraged the attack discovery in Elastic. Attack discovery, as Mike was saying, is an AI-driven capability that automatically analyzes large volumes of alerts and identifies which ones are connected as part of the single attack, kind of like finding the needle in the haystack. Instead of reviewing the alerts one at a time, it builds a clear attack narrative, showing what happened, how it unfolded, and which systems were involved. When we ran attack discovery in this scenario, it was able to quickly pinpoint the attack path, giving our team immediate insight into what happened and how the ransomware occurred. What normally would have taken our analysts 60 to 90 to hours to investigate was reduced to under 10 minutes to understand what was happening and to confirm it was a true positive and to give us a time frame in which the attack occurred so that we could further funnel our investigations into that time period. AB, can you bring up attack discovery and show some of the details that it shows?
Sure, Rob. So just to show this alert tab again. So you can see that there's like 513 alerts in the last 4 hours. And to your reference, Rob, the needle in the haystack scenario, if an analyst starts from here, they'll have to scroll through, they'll have to find these alerts. I mean, they'll have to triage each one of them, find patterns, try to see if there is an attack chain happening. They have to do active threat hunting, and there could be a lot of false positives. And this causes fatigue. This is an actual problem, right? So what attack discovery does for us is, so the same set of alerts, it runs often. So this is like a scheduled thing which runs often. It can run every 5 minutes or every hour, or how we want it to work. And so it runs. It takes a bunch of alerts, around 1,000 alerts into its context. It tries to find patterns, and then it stitches them together, and then it makes a narrative of what actually happened. The narrative is concise, and it shows you exactly what the attack chain is even. So here you can see that from these 500 alerts here, it picked out around 10 alerts, and then it found out that there was a Word document which was open, which spawned a PowerShell, which spawned another process, and then it downloaded a certificate. It took a memory dump of LSAS. It took the credentials, and then you can see that there was an initial access, execution, and even credential access. And if you scroll here a bit, there's even lateral movement and command and control. So a process which would have taken hours worth of investigation, this thing just found it in a few minutes. And here, this is pretty awesome. Like it finding this in just a few minutes and giving you a actual narrative of what happened. And on top of this, what it'll do is it will invoke a workflow, which again, it does on its own. So this is basically a AI engine with RAG, with context, doing all of this, and then it'll invoke a workflow. Now, what the workflow would do here is it'll take the information from the attack discovery, and then there is another AI agent which is invoked. Now, this AI agent, unlike attack discovery, has hands. And by hands, I mean tools. So it can actually analyze, it can reason, and then it understands that it has to take some actions. So an example of a hand would be creating a case, adding notes in the case, notifying a Slack chat. Maybe it can even, like, if you let it can do API calls and actually ring a beacon in your room to let you know that there is a Sev1 alert and you really need to get on top of it. So this here, what you can see is that it is fetching the attack chain. It is looking at assets. So it's basically it's looking at your knowledge base. So it's a personalized knowledge base of who's on shift, what are your workstations, what are the critical workstations, what are the mission critical workstations, what are workstations which can be isolated in an incident like that if a malware or if a ransomware is affected. What are the workstations which can be isolated, who to contact, all that information, right? So it's getting all of this information. It is running on its own. And what it's doing is it's opening a case and then it's putting its analysis here. So you can see that this Blackware ransomware attack chain, that was all these stuff from the attack discovery is pasted here, and this is the AI doing the triage report. And you can see that the severity is critical. It's saying that it should be a critical. True positive probability is 75%. It's telling you in a clean narrative that somebody got into this, or it was detected in this workstation in the sales department, and it saw an external IP, making communication to an external IP. The AA agent took the external IP, ran it against a VirusTotal database, and then found that it was a confirmed Tor exit node. So it knows that this is something concerning. And it saw that there was credential access, multiple suspicious PowerShell commands, lateral movement happening. And it understood that the initial access was even via phishing email, because this tool would have access to multiple databases which you give it access to, and it understood that this was the source of this the entry point. And on top of that, it's telling you the recommended actions, and it's telling you 15 minutes. So imagine the scenario. Let's assume that an analyst, right, he gets a notification in his Slack channel, which is this thing. So he got a notification on his Slack channel. He opened the case. He's not starting from zero. He already has an analysis put here, and he knows what to do. The response time is much lower compared to what he would have had to do if he got from an alert and then investigated and went from there. So here you can see that it's telling you recommended actions of 15 minutes. Isolate this host, block traffic to this Tor node, and then let JSmith know. And then within an hour, within 4 hours, what you need to do. It's telling you the threat intelligence which it pulled about the external IP, the Tor node, and then it's telling you this is the host you need to isolate, and he just needs to click on this link and isolate this workstation, and it's telling you isolate immediately, no approval needed. The AI knows, because there is a knowledge base which tells that this is a workstation used by a user, and it is not a mission critical server. And on top of that, it's telling you who's on shift right now. So, and even escalation rules. First called the SOC on lead, a SOC on call lead, and then ransomware is confirmed. So call Sarah, and then breach is confirmed. Let Lisa know. And the really cool part about this is, again, the hands and the tools thing, right? This is scalable. So it's not like one workflow where it does some stuff and then gives you just an analysis. You can actually make actions based on with the customizable tools which we have in our arsenal. So imagination is the limit, and it's honestly pretty mind blowing, the stuff which you can do here.
It is mind blowing. You kind of walked us through some of the power there, AB, across the stack. Is pretty awesome. Let's go back to the attack discovery real quick, AB. I wanted to highlight, come back to what you had mentioned there. So it really, AB, you made a good call out, like how far do you want to automate things, right? So we do get into how much do you want AI interacting, right? So you could start with a really more fundamental use case of a flooded alert console with a lot of alerts, and it's particularly during a large attack, and you want to just have AI assist that investigation. That's what you walked us through with attack discovery, right? So super powerful. Rob talking about time to get insight, right? So this thing is actually helping you identify, this attack chain, narrowing down your results a bit to where the root cause was, where likely lateral movement happened, and then giving you really some concise insights. It could stop there if you wanted it to, right? To say, look, this is where I need AI. I want to sharpen my investigation. I want my analyst or my security operations person to then take it to the next step, right? But then to your point, AB, you start to think about scalability, right? If you're in a larger shop, whether you're running your own security operations or maybe you have a provider, you get a lot going on, right? And context awareness of what's happening in the incident and what you're should be doing from a procedure standpoint, you kind of hopped into that, right? So if you flip over to the agentic SOC that you were showing, it's kind of cool where you can take it to the next level, right? How far do you want to automate this thing, right? So you want to just do investigations and narrow your search results and narrow your queries so you can get really precise on it. In addition to that, you can run these automated workflows, AB, which is kind of what you're highlighting here, right? So you can have it recommend run books. You could have it pull in extra threat indicator information from third-party sources. And so it's a pretty, Avi, you had said like sort of limitless imagination, right? How far do you want to take it? And the context awareness around like what run books do we have, who's on call, who should you be contacting this, where you're actually handing it to the analyst. You can go fully to that extent if you want, right? And further, and that's where the scalability aspect comes in that you're calling out, Avi. So really cool. And this is live stuff in a lab that we have here. They'd be showing, but this is actively deployed. Rob's team, actively leverages these tools for investigation. So it goes from mind blowing to reality very quickly. I want to kick it back to Rob. So just getting into, again, that human-led AI versus fully automated AI, Rob, when it comes to security operations. Can you talk about your thoughts for how that's methodology for our security team and where human-led AI versus fully automated come into play and how we're handling that?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. As AB was showing, there's so much we can do automated, but there's times where we want to keep the human involved. So it's something we think about a lot in MDR operations. At a high level, our philosophy is very much human-led AI rather than fully automated AI, especially when you're talking about detection, triage, and response. The AI, as you've seen, is exceptionally good at speed and scale. It can process massive volumes of data. It can correlate activity across many different disparate systems and uncover patterns much faster than a human ever could. In the Elastic SIEM, we see that every day through things like the AI assistant and attack discovery, which helps our analysts get to the clarity faster. But where we draw a clear line is with our decision making and accountability. In MDR, every alert and every response has real world consequences. Automatically isolating a host or shutting down access or declaring an incident without human oversight can create an operational risk, especially in complex or regulated environments. So that's why we believe that AI should augment the analyst and not replace them. In practice, that means the AI can help analyze, summarize, and correlate activity. It can reduce the noise and narrow the scope, and it can accelerate investigations and surface the why. But humans will make the final call. Our analysts use AI to move faster through triage, validate their hypotheses, and understand context, but the judgment around whether something is truly malicious, how severe it is, and what response is appropriate stays with the experienced human. This approach gives us the best of both worlds. The speed, consistency, and scale of AI paired with the intuition, experience, and business context of the human. Fully automated AI can work in very narrow, well-defined scenarios, but in MDR, where every customer is different, we found that human-led AI delivers better outcomes, fewer false positives, safer response decision, and stronger customer trust. From a leadership perspective, it's really about confidence. AI helps our analysts work smarter and faster, but humans remain accountable for decisions that impact production systems, business operations, and risk posture. That balance is what allows us to scale MDR effectively without sacrificing accuracy or trust.
That's great call out, Rob. Scale, I think, is a big piece there for everybody, right? Security operations, you want to get those insights faster. You want to be able to get that investigation outcome quicker, right? So getting the person to that point as fast as possible. AI, obviously, when you're looking, and you called it out, Rob, like these mass amount of alerts and discovery efforts can really be consolidated to let the person who's investigating grab those few key points and then be able to run with it very quickly and getting them to that point faster. That's really where we're seeing this massive opportunity in the stack today that we're leveraging. Kind of getting more into that full automated thought though, right? There are some areas I think where it's safely deployed. AB covered a few of them, like runbooks, stuff like that. Within the agentic AI space, Rob, what are some things that you're looking at leveraging within our security operations to sort of make it easier for someone to investigate or maybe help them get to that next step quicker?
Sure, it's a very timely question and one we're very aligned on. Again, we think about Elastic's newer AI capabilities. Our focus isn't on removing analysts from the loop, and I think it's something we've come back to again and again within this webinar. This is on giving them more leverage at every stage in the SOC workflow. Today, analysts spend a lot of time on the mechanics of investigation, sorting the alerts, pulling the context, pivoting across data sets, and validating their hypotheses. Where Agentic AI becomes powerful is in orchestrating these steps on the analyst's behalf, while still keeping humans in control of the decisions. Looking forward, we see several key areas where this further enables the SOC. First, guided investigations, as AB was showing. Agentic AI can help drive the investigations forward by automatically suggesting the next steps. For example, pulling additional telemetry, expanding the scope to related users or hosts, or validating whether an activity aligns with known attack patterns. Analysts stay in charge, but they no longer have to start from a blank slate. The second would be proactive context gathering. Instead of analysts manually switching between dashboards, queries, tools, agentic workflows can establish the relevant context automatically, such as timelines, impacted assets, and related alerts, and present that in a consolidated view. This means analysts spend less time gathering the data and more time interpreting the data. And lastly, we see faster analyst enablement. For newer analysts, agentic capabilities act almost like a built-in mentor, where they're guiding investigation, explaining why certain steps matter, and helping them ramp up faster without lowering the quality of the SOC. From leadership perspective, that outcome that we're aiming for is this: analysts make better decisions faster, and the SOC scales without simply adding more people. So rather than thinking of agentic AI as automation replacing humans, we see it as intelligent, analyst-guided workflows that take the complexity and manual effort out, enforce best practices, and amplify the analyst experience.
Great call out, Rob, on the end there as far as the enhancement. We've talked a lot about that today of when it's leveraged in the manner we're discussing, really can enhance the operations, allow for scale, put the human in the highest opportunity for succeeding when it comes to a good, proper investigation and being able to get good context for a security incident. So really healthy talk, guys. I think we're actually going to wrap with that. Appreciate Mike, Rob, and AB joining us. We did cover a lot of ground today, right? So we went into the Elastic AI security features in depth. Mike kind of ran us through that. Elastic doing a fantastic job, right, of actually baking AI directly into the stack. It's one of the reasons that Netrix partnered with Elastic, so that we're able to really get the power of AI, make sure it's done in an open and transparent way and is built right into the native workflow. And then we actually walked through with Rob and AB real use cases, right? How can this be leveraged today? I think that is an area in cybersecurity a lot of the leadership is looking at. How can I actually help accelerate my operations? We dove into those use cases today and live and gave a few examples in a security incident. And so hopefully everybody walked away with a good understanding of not only Elastic Security and the power of that platform, but just generally how AI can be used to help enhance cybersecurity operations within your company. So thank you everybody for joining. I appreciate Rob, Mike, and AB joining the call today and walking us through this, and have a great day.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.